afternoon, everyone. Our clock is reading 1 p.m. EST, so I think we're going to go ahead and get started. First of all, I'd like to welcome you to our webinar, What's New in ProcessMaker 3.3.0. Today, we're going to be giving you a brief summary of some of the new features and improvements made with ProcessMaker 3.3.0. I'm here with Edwin Paredes and Mauricio Cardenas, who will be showing you a demo of all of the new things in ProcessMaker 3.3.0. However, before we move on with the demo, I'm going to give you a brief summary of all of the improvements and new features we're going to be covering today, plus some additional notes that you should keep in mind for the update to ProcessMaker 3.3.0. I would also like to encourage you to submit your questions at any time, and then after the demo, we'll get around to answering your questions in order of submission. So let me go ahead and get started with the summary of our new improvements. So the most important improvement that I would like to mention first is that ProcessMaker 3.3.0 is fully compatible with PHP 7.1. So this means improved performance and improved security with the update to PHP 7.1. Another exciting improvement is end-user case reassignment. So if you're familiar with previous versions of ProcessMaker and case reassignment, you'll already know that you needed a permission in your role to be able to reassign users. So this usually meant that administrators could only reassign cases, and they would be able to reassign cases from any process in the workspace. Now we have a new process permission available called Reassign My Cases that you'll see in a moment in the demo, that allows users to reassign their own cases when they're granted this process permission. The third improvement that we would like to show you today is improved logs and traceability. So as you can see in the screenshot, one of the new improvements with our audit logs is that you can actually choose the logs that you want to download and download them in a .log file. So all you need to do is click on a log file and then click the download button to download it to your hard drive. Change logs also now trace actions by email and actions done in the ProcessMaker mobile app. So that's another exciting new change with our change logs. And the next two things we'll show you are the new features in ProcessMaker 3.3.0. So one of the biggest new features that we have is the Process Documenter plugin. This is a really exciting new plugin that allows you to easily document your process from start to finish. So we have a screenshot of the Process Documenter interface on the screen right now, but of course we're going to show you it in the demo in just a few minutes. All you need to do is click the Process Documenter button on the process map, click on an element, and add your documentation. The Process Documenter plugin also automatically generates the document, so all you have to do is simply add your documentation and then download it in a .docx file or a .pdf file. The second exciting new feature we have to show you is the Google Authentication plugin. This plugin pretty much is self-explanatory. It allows you to log into Google to authenticate into ProcessMaker automatically. And now if you're using a bunch of online tools to do your daily tasks, this is going to be a huge relief because all you need to do is log into Google and then you won't need to face any more login screens to log into ProcessMaker. This is also a relief to any process administrators who will now only need to create one account in Google to automatically create an account in ProcessMaker when ProcessMaker is synced with Google. And so before we move on to our demos, I would like to also mention that for customers on cloud servers, you'll be upgraded by ProcessMaker. So all you need to do is sit back and relax while we do all the heavy lifting for you to get you to ProcessMaker 3.3.0. And if you're a customer with an on-premises installation, all you need to do is give us a call and coordinate with us to get yourself upgraded to ProcessMaker 3.3.0. And then the last thing I want to mention before we get started with the demos is that ProcessMaker 3.3.0 comes with 4 supported stacks. Now, 2 of these stacks require PHP 7.1, However, the other two stacks only require PHP 5.6. And so the stacks for each version of PHP include a stack for Windows and a stack for Linux, depending on whatever environment you're running ProcessMaker on. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Edwin to give you a sneak peek at the new improvements in ProcessMaker 3.3.0. So just hold on for a minute while we make the switch.
Hello. Thank you, Summer. My name is Edwin Paredes, and I work in product management here at ProcessMaker. And today I'll show you the most remarkable improvements in 3.3.0. So before we start with the improvements, I want to let you know that we're working in ProcessMaker towards improving the performance and security of the core. But at the same time, we're delivering features as plugins. Well, of course, it doesn't mean that we're not going to make improvements to our current functionalities. So let's start with the first item. I'll first like to talk. I'll first like to talk about auditability improvements. All right. So regarding auditability, the first thing we have updated in ProcessMaker 2.3.0 is the way to identify intermediate email events or any intermediate events. For example, this is my sample process map, and here's one of my intermediate email events. In the past, it was very hard to identify which intermediate events were running in our case, but now we're making it very easy to identify as we added them to the case history. The second improvement is related to changelog. It also has to do with auditability, and we added a way to identify from where a case data was changed. In this example, we can see that the first information was introduced from a web, it means from a browser, and the second one was changed from an action by email. In this case, someone approved this case from its email using the functionality of actions by email. And the last one related to auditability is the ability to download our logs. As you remember, there are a couple of logs that were delivered in previous version. The first one is the audit logs, and the second one is the standard logs. In the past, there was no way to access to these files, but, well, of course, without accessing the server itself. But now these files are downloadable from the UI, and I want to remind you that these files are following the CMS format, which allows to import these files in tools that are meant to read the log format. All right, so that's all about auditability in the sneak peek. And now, allow me to switch to the next improvement, which is the ability for end users to reassign their cases. So as Summer was saying, in previous versions, only supervisors or admins with certain privileges were able to reassign cases. But what if we would like end users to, or operators to reassign their cases? So for example, I might open a case and I might have no idea of how to solve or how to continue with the request. Maybe because I lack the knowledge, or maybe there's someone with more experience that it's better to continue with this process. So now that person is able to reassign the case to someone who's also in the same pool of the assignees of the task. This works as a regular reassignment, but in this case, the action or the privilege is given to the end user. As Summer was saying, this is of course regulated by permissions, by process permissions. So whoever is designing the process will decide who and where a case can be reassigned. So that's all with me for today. I will now let Mauricio talk about the wonderful plugins we're releasing along with ProcessMaker 3.3.0. So let's just give us a minute to switch.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you so much for inviting me to this webinar. My name is Mauricio Cárdenas. I'm a product manager. So I will show you a few plugins that we created for the version 3.3.0 ProcessMaker. One is the Process Documenter, the other one is the Google Authentication plugin. Well, about the Process Documenter, it's a very fine plugin that allows you to create documentation for your process in a very simple way. Let me change of screen and I will show you the Process Documenter. This plugin requires you to use enterprise plugins. So you can enable it, and once it's enabled, you can access through the designer. So let's go to the designer. Okay, perfect. So we need first permission to go to the process designer. I will choose as robot request process, and I will show you the process documenter. Once it's enabled, you will see the options inside the designer as process documenter, and you can access to this functionality. The functionality is very simple. You will see in the upper side the process documenter workflow where you can select item by item to start making the documentation. In the below part, you will have the document itself where you can fill the information or you can choose to use the rich text editor. In the right side, we have the process inspector where you receive the whole information about your process and start filling the information accordingly. So for example, I will select the empty space and I will list all the information in the process documenter. Let me have a minute. Okay, perfect. Or you can select any element and you will see the process inspector that will list all the properties of that element. In this case, I'm selecting a task and you will see all the triggers that belong to that task and all the dynaframes that belong to that task. Here you can fill the whole information about your process. Also, if you require, you can create new sections. For example, if you want to provide any technical information. And these sections will be global for all the documents. Once you have filled all the information and provide and adequate the text using bold, italic, and underline, you can see the preview. In the preview, you see the whole of the document. You can reorder the information in the Documenter plugin. Or you can, for example, give me a moment, you can for example, hide certain kind of areas or certain kind of elements. So that is very simple. Once your document is accord of what you want to provide to your employees to explain what is this process about, you can start downloading this information as doc for Word documents or PDF. One minute, please, it's loading the information. Okay, perfect. So here you have the whole document. And for example, if you want to create specific sections for certain kinds of elements, you can do it. Because you can go to give me a moment, to the administration. Let's go to plugins. There's a section for configure the process documenter, and you can start creating specific sections for certain areas. For example, if you want to create a new section, just that is not global for certain kind of element, like for example, the intermediate events. And this will be added for all your documents. And that is the process documenter about. It's very simple. Now let's go to the Google Authentication plugin. And this one is very exciting because the configuration is very simple. You just need to enable the plugin, and you will have a new option in Users for Administration, where you can set the configurations for the Google Authentication. Here, you need to specify, enable the plugin for all your users to start seeing the button of the Google Authentication. Also, the attempt to automatically log in with Google, that allows you to have a single sign-on for your instance. You will require to provide the client ID, the client secret, and the domain of your G Suite configuration. Once this is set, you will need to start synchronizing your groups with ProcessMaker. For example, if you have already users that are already registered in your G Suite, this will synchronize with them and allow them to log into ProcessMaker using the Google Authentications. But if those users are not created in ProcessMaker, the G Suite will synchronize and will create a new users in our ProcessMaker. So let's try this configuration, and let's log into ProcessMaker using the Google Authentication. So right now, I'm using this button. I will select Alfredo Sanchez. And voila, you already have access ProcessMaker using the Google Authentication without any kind of problem. So that's it for the Google Authentication. It is very simple. You just need to set your configurations with the G Suite, enable the plugin, set the base configurations, and you have the whole access with Google Authentication.
Okay, thank you, Mauricio, for that great presentation. Now, I encourage you all to submit any questions you have. In the meantime, let me show you a few of our upcoming webinars. So, and if you don't already know, you can submit your questions using the questions function in GoToWebinars. And then we'll start answering your questions as they come in one by one. So like I said before, this webinar is meant to just give you a brief overview of each of the new improvements and new features in ProcessMaker 3.3.0, but we do have a couple webinars in the next few weeks to show you more in detail each of the new features that come with ProcessMaker 3.3.0. So first of all, we have our last webinar in the database integration series about how to connect ProcessMaker to your Microsoft SQL Server database. And that's going to be on Wednesday, November 21st. Then we have our first in our series about the new improvements and features in ProcessMaker 3.3.0, maintain organized and comprehensive logs with ProcessMaker audit tools on Thursday on December 6th. Then our next in the series for ProcessMaker 3.3.0 is how to use the Process Documenter plugin, and this webinar will take place on Thursday, January 17th at 11 a.m. New York time. And so we also have two more webinars about the additional new features in ProcessMaker 3.3.0, and if you're interested in registering for those, please go to the address at the bottom of the screen. Okay, and now we're going to start answering your questions.
Hello, this is Edwin. Well, I'll take the first one. Is HTML to PDF removed from the installation files in PM3.3? No, it is not yet removed. It will not work with PHP 7, but ProcessMaker 3.3 can also run over 5.6. So it can work. It will keep working with that stack. Next one. New features will be available for Community Edition. No, if you mean the Google Authentication plugin and the Documenter, no, they are not available for Community Edition. Those are enterprise plugins.
Okay, about the Documenter plugin, if you need to document step by step in different editors. No, you need to document everything in one editor. So if you want to specify step by step, you can do it in the main editor for that task.
Assigned has to belong to the group of the current task. That is correct. That is accurate. The new user or the target user has to belong or to be assigned to the task. To be either as a assignee or as an ad hoc user. Possible to assign that? Yes. The answer is yes. To ad hoc users. Yes, PM33 still supports process created in PM25. The answer is yes for the last one.
Just take into consideration that if you have processes imported from version 2.5 into ProcessMaker 3, you wouldn't be available to use the new functionalities of ProcessMaker 3, such as the PM connectors, the data reporting tools. So take that into consideration because you're using the old engine of ProcessMaker, not the new one, that is the version 3.
All right, that wraps up the webinar. Thank you all for attending. I hope to see you at our next webinar. Oh, it looks like we have one more question. Can I use MySQL 5.7 with PM33?
We're still testing with MySQL 5.7, so I will not suggest to do that. We have a list of supported stacks. Once we finish our test with MySQL 5.7, we'll publish that stack, and we're hopefully having that by the QA next year. But we'll let you know, please.
Okay, thank you, Edwin and Mauricio. I think now we'll wrap up the webinar, and any additional questions that come in, we can get back to you by email. So if you have any lingering questions, feel free to submit them, and we'll get back to you through email. But at the meantime, I'm going to wrap this up, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.